Welcome back, everybody, to Three Old Friends and Music Never Ends, our regular recurring podcast where myself, David, and my friends Mike and Jose get together and we listen to music and we talk about music and we try to convey to you, the listener, how great the music is. And we encourage you to go listen to the playlist and then maybe pick up something from the commentary that we do as well. We're up to number 52 now. After the last couple of years we've been doing this, and this time we decided to go back to picking an artist again. We've done that a few times recently, and this time I think we all collectively said, "Hey, why don't we do Elton John?" And we all went, "Yeah, let's do Elton John." So that's the playlist and the podcast for this week. You can see behind me I have a lot of the albums. I was just thinking about it. Playlist number 52. Elton John might even have 52 albums. He's that prolific. You know, he's one of those artists that has done this for 50 years now, right? Or over 50 years. And so there's plenty to choose from. I'm sure we're going to omit some of your favorites about that, but let's go ahead and get into it. First of all, I'll just say this is probably one of my favorite artists of all time, if not the favorite. So it was easy for me. And again, I really enjoyed putting this playlist together. Before we get into the selections, I'll ask Mike and Jose, what do you guys think about putting together this EJ compilation?
Well, I was thinking about this and what the other ones we've done, Dylan, excuse me, the Beatles, and the Stones, and it's like, okay, the Beatles maybe. I've liked their music for a long time. They've kind of been a constant, but some of these others I got into later. Elton John has been like in my musical knowledge from almost the very beginning. And so, other bands I like or performers may come and go, but he's kind of been there. And I haven't gotten tired of any of these songs, at least, maybe some that have been played on the radio a whole lot. But yeah, I loved it. I'm glad we did it.
Yeah, Elton John is obviously. First of all, let me just say that I'm glad that it's Dave who's kind of moderating those lines to Mike, of course, but only because it was Dave who kind of really introduced me to Elton John. We all listened to the staples, the Your songs, the Daniels, but it wasn't until I was hanging out with Dave that he had other albums that I had never even heard of or listened to or even thought about. I wasn't into Elton John in the least bit, but Dave had obviously a huge collection, and obviously since it's one of his favorites, you got to listen to a lot of Elton John, and it was great. And so that's it really opened your eyes, and we'll talk about it on the list here, where there's certain songs that were like, oh yeah, that really flipped the switch for me as far as going from Elton John to listening to let's face it, something as fun as Crocodile Rock to something a little more introspective. So yeah, Elton John is just some great music.
So I've actually never seen Elton John live in concert, which is sad. I've seen a lot of the things on shows and everything like that. I will say that I believe back in the day when I collected albums that I had all of the Elton John albums all the way through the late 80s, early 90s, and then I got married and stopped collecting albums. But I think I had all of them, even the not so good ones, even the made in England and some of the other ones that they said, oh, he just threw that one together. I didn't matter. I bought it anyway. I had it, bought it at the half price or records or somewhere like that. But let's go ahead and jump into it and get started. So I had the pleasure of kicking it off, and I thought long and hard about a song to kick off this playlist, and I wanted to start from the beginning and play something early on. Obviously, your song is probably one of the most instrumental, which didn't make it on the list, but that's okay because I put on a song called Skyline Pigeon, which was actually from his first album. But this version of it, the original version of it was on like a harpsichord kind of thing with nothing else, just him singing, which is way cool, but it doesn't have the production value that the version I chose came off of a 1974 album, Don't Shoot Me, I'm Just a Piano Player, where he did a demo of it, and it became, and he had the Nigel Olsson playing drums and the whole thing, and it just was a more polished piece. But it's emblematic of the early Elton John and Bernie Taupin writing style, and his ability to craft what I think is just beautiful melodies, which is what makes Elton John so great, and the lyrics that Taupin bring to it. So I've always loved this song, Skyline Pigeon. Love it so much. Love to sing it. Love the melody of it. And it's probably not one of those most commonly hit songs or anything. So it might be one that either of you two knew about, but maybe wasn't in your top list. But it's just an all-time favorite of mine, and so I decided to start off with the early Elton John.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think I'm second, right? You're the thing.
No, I think my song was second to. You're right. You're right.
We'll learn it after 52 times. I'm sure at some point we will get this.
Hey, it's mainly me, so I'll own it. I'll own it.
You're just so both eager to jump in and talk about.
Yes, I am. I'll just talk the whole time.
I'm just trying to follow protocol. That's never happened. Anyway, since I am second, oops, sorry. Actually, I turned on. As I was alluding to when I first talked, Dave just started introducing me to a lot of these songs, and this was one of those songs that you're like, wow, this isn't what I'm used to listening to from him, and so it was one of those songs, and I think anecdotally, one of the times that when we did mixtapes in the past, one time Dave's like, you pick from my albums and I pick from your albums, and we make a mixtape. And it's always kind of a daunting task because for whatever reason, even though there's really no pressure, there's tons of pressure. It's that kind of, and imagine trying to think, oh, what Elton John song can I play that will make the mixtape and not make me look like a complete dork in front of Dave? So it wasn't just, I think it was High Flying Bird, but it was one of the early songs that I think I chose. But that's the Skyline is again one of those songs that stuck with me forever.
Yeah, this song, I wasn't really familiar with it. But it's a very beautiful song, basically set me free. Now I'm going to say in a lot of these songs, I mentioned this to these guys earlier. I've loved his music, like I've said, for a long time. And I know these songs, but in many cases, after we made this list, I kind of really had to think to myself, what exactly is this song about? Some of his lyrics can be more cryptic. Some of them are pretty obvious or very obvious, and they're open to interpretation. And again, Bernie Taupin largely is the lyricist. He had a few other people that have helped him have done the lyrics. But yeah, it's a beautiful song. And I don't know if I said this. We had this album when I was a kid in the house. Anybody? It's Don't Shoot Me, I'm the Piano Player. I'm only piano player. What was the single off this? Either you guys remember?
Daniel was off this one.
Okay. Yeah, that's probably why we had it. I certainly remember hearing that plenty in the car, and in the house and wherever else, and on the radio. So yeah, it's a great song, and I followed up with I kind of jumped. Oh,
And
go ahead.
Mike, before you follow up with your next song, I forgot there was something I wanted to say about this one. Not that it's any big deal or whatever, but because I can't, again, I own the album or whatever, but I don't think I had this album early on. And I remember that a good friend of ours, Jose and I's, George Davis, played piano and he sang in the choir and stuff like that. And he played this song in like a pops concert in high school, like my freshman year or whatever, and just blew it away. And when I heard that, I went, I got to rush out and or check out the album or whatever. Maybe I didn't have the album at the time, but I wanted to throw some homage to my friend George Davis. Kind of turned me on to this song too, way back in the day. Anyway, it doesn't mean much, but I remember him playing the song in a concert and just loved it.
Yeah, yeah. So I followed up with, well, when we were starting out doing this, I think there was some thought that a lot of the songs we love are on there's 3 albums that are just like, considered huge. We have so many other great albums. And I was kind of concerned myself that I would be stuck to those. Those were in my book, Madman Across the Water, Tumbleweed Connection, and Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. But not to diminish Honky Chateau or any of the others. But so I was like, I knew that most of the songs I wanted to play were kind of around that period. So I really had to make myself look at outside that. And so I picked a song. It's called Who Believes in Angels. It's a duet with Brandy Carlisle and Elton John. And it's pretty new. I think it maybe came out last year, maybe even early this year. I first heard the song on the SNL 50th anniversary concert. I believe it was one of those 2 shows. I think it was the concert, and I was just like, "This is such a cool song." I had no idea about it. I hadn't heard it up until then. Yeah, there's a video for it he's another one of his albums, Captain Fantastic and the Brown Dirt Cowboy. There's a pinball machine, I believe. There's also a pinball wizard machine, but there was a Captain Fantastic pinball machine. And the video for this song, which I'll put on the YouTube playlist, they're inside that pinball machine. But all that aside, I think it's a great song. It really is. It's the arrangement I love. And I know, yeah, it's not he's kind of not the lead vocalist. She sings separate some, and then they sing together. But I'm glad I put it on. What do you guys think?
So when you first put it on, I went, oh, one of these duets, and he's done a lot of duets. I didn't realize, like, the last 10 years he's just been, or what, he just cranks them out. And I was not familiar with the song, and so first I thought, oh man, he's wasting a song here, man, with this duet. But man, I listened to it over and over again, and it is a great song. I love it. I'm glad it's on the playlist. Yeah, he's not featured, but his harmonies on this song are unreal. And I like the some of the lyrics, where he says, "Even the diamonds look like rocks to the untrained eye. What does it cost you to buy back your soul back when you die?" And then the other line where he's the hook or whatever is, "Yeah, I've been there, man. I've been there, man." And I just felt you feel that. Yeah, I've been there. I've been there. I've experienced that. Great, well crafted song. The piano with Elton John is evident in it, and it goes well on the playlist just because it's new and fresh to me, and I loved it.
Right. I have to agree, Dave, when you initially are playing this, and I think it helps that it is a little early in the playlist. When it comes on, it's like, what playlist are we doing again? Oh, that's right. So, because obviously she initially sings. So, and like you said, it's a song that has to grow on you because I'm like Dave, like, is this Elton John? And he has done a lot of duets, but you have to give him credit. Elton John knows how to pick his partners when it comes to doing successful duets. And it's like Mike said, he was on the 50th. He was on a bunch of shows with her. I think he was on the Grammys, and so I think they even had a special or something like that. But he knows how to pick his duets, and this is a great song, and it should be. And I'm glad we're exposed to it. And yes, we have some of the hits on here, and mine's about to be next. But at the same time, there's other songs like, and we all fall into these trappings where we followed an artist to a certain point, and like Mike says, sometimes we go do a little exploring and find a little more, a little more of those nuggets that we like. So, yeah, fantastic song. And so I went with the hits because I don't know if it's a hit per se, but it's my favorite Elton John song, Madman Across the Water. Always has it. Dave had the album. The minute he turned the song on, it became one of my top five, always and still is. I think as an album, it's a perfect album. I don't think there's a real dud on there. Holiday and maybe something like that, but that album all the way through is just, and of course Madman's on it, and like I said, it's my favorite song. Obviously people have covered it. I think Dave's mentioned that Warren Haynes does it, but there's also different versions of it. There's a stripped down version that you can find with Madman. And the other version that I'll always mention is one time we were at Dave's when we were younger, and it was his concert in Australia, which I think you can get, but he does a version of that with the full and it is, it's like I still remember it obviously to this day, and that was 40 years ago. So, yeah, great song.
Yeah, I think I remember seeing that concert in Australia. It was on HBO or I don't know. And he was really going outdoing himself with the outfits on that one. I seem to remember. But this album, same sentiments exactly. It's one of the first ones I myself bought. I had inherited Yellow Brick Road and such, but I can't tell you how many times, just over and over again, I listened to this. And strangely enough, unlike some of his other things that I've heard plenty, it's just Madman Across the Water just doesn't get old. And there's 3 songs, including another one that we have on here. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think they're all from that Leave On, which we'll talk about in a minute, and Tiny Dancer. And those are just all of them are just like, that's on there, right?
It's on there, but it's not on our playlist, right?
Oh, no. But what I meant was that off that record,
Oh,
it's
yeah,
like, they're just like, they're all kind of iconic songs, been in a lot of movies and that sort of thing. But as far as what this song is about, this is one of those. I don't know, but it's and I like that you have the strings, and I like the couple of false endings, that goes back to the guitar. It's just such a well-crafted song.
Is the nightmare black or are the windows painted? I don't know what that means, but it's a great line, right?
Yeah.
It is, and I almost picked something off of the Live in Australia too. For whatever reason, I didn't, but yeah, Madman. This is one where if you think about with Jose and Fish and jam bands and all that, this is probably one that in the heyday he played in concert a lot. And it was an extended kind of version of it, right? He did a little jam on it. It was 11, 12, 15 minutes long. He just went on and on this song, and it lulls you in because it's got that dun 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 dun, dun dun, and it just keeps repeating that same kind of thing. And it's just a great tune. I will say that again, I'm a very amateur piano player, and I love to play Elton John. I love the chords. This one is fairly easy because other than that, that little cadence I just went through, the chords are very simple. It's in an easy key, and actually on this list of 15, I can honestly say there's 9 of them that I play regularly. on this list. So that's a cool thing. But yeah, love the Madman Across the Water. And I knew you were going to put it on because earlier we talked about a Warren Haynes version of it where you said or whatever. Did we put that on a playlist? I think. Yeah, I think we
Yeah,
did. And
probably.
so when you did that, I went, I bet you he's going to do the Elton John version on this one. But no, it's way cool. From there, then, I had the next selection, and I'm just thinking, what are my favorite songs, the ones I absolutely have to get on this list. And so I went to Mona Lisa's and Mad Hatters from Honky Chateau. And as soon as I said I want to put this on, Mike and Jose both said, "Oh, that was my next selection," or that's, I wanted to put that on too. So it's probably one that we all like. It didn't get popularity back in the day that I remember. I think it had a resurgence, over the last 10 years or so, where people started going, "Oh, there's this song." And then other artists started covering it and playing it at events and different things like that. And it just became like, "Oh, this is the way cool song." And but back in the day, it probably was overshadowed by Honky Cat and other things off that album. But anyway, I'm glad I put it on. I knew I was going to put it on. Even when we said let's do Elton John, it was probably the first song on my top of my mind that I said that's going on the list. Just love the melody and the song. Love the mandolin in there. It's all awesome.
Right, and like I said, this is how I got my education. Is again, as like Dave said, he had all the albums, so that's what we would listen to. And these were the songs that we listened to. Sure, when we were in the car and were forced to listen just to the AM at some point, sure, the Elton, but these songs. But when we weren't, when we were listening to the albums, we were listening to all these songs. And I will say, if you've ever worked with me as a sports center and worked in my offices, I like to play music. I like to play loud, and I like to buy cassettes for whatever reason. And you could buy. For some reason, I found this Mona Lisa. I found this cassette and another one back to back, and so I used to play it all the time. And people always used to like, "Oh man, those are some great songs," because they had never really listened to them before. They've listened to all the hits, but not songs like this. So anyway, just thought I'd throw that out there.
Yeah, I miss it. Well, I hardly use because I don't have even a working cassette player unless you count the one in the old beat up Volkswagen Bug in our in front of our house. But I love those 2 album cassettes. There were and on those it's like those songs, those 2 albums will always kind of be linked in my head. I'm sure there was a reason they put them together, but not bunch of different bands did them, or record companies. This song, um, it's it was like high on my list, and it was one I didn't know till later. And I was thinking about it as you guys were talking. Like you said, there's the AM stuff, or even now on whatever the contemporary or the old greatest hits stations, whatever you call them, classic rock or whatever. They'll play some of this, but it's like whenever I've been listening to Elton John with other people I know who are kind of really into his music, there's certain songs that they know and they all respect, and a lot of them made it on this list, and this is one of them. This is high up there. Um, the it's hard because like you were talking about, I think a little bit at the beginning, Jose, there's has so many songs and so many hits, but I think there are just some that we all love so much. It's kind of hard for me, it was just hard to leave something off. I could say the same thing for the Beatles, but for some reason, this was harder for me. So from there went to Burn Down the Mission, which is I think another. Do we do? I'm looking on my no. So it's another album I consider kind of like you said about Madman Across the Water, almost perfect. There's so much to it, and then maybe because I was I don't know if you guys did this, but if you ever had a time where you like discovered an album, this one that had been around for a few decades before I discovered it, and then I played nothing but that for a while. and I'd be in the shower. I remember specifically being in the shower one time and this playing, you know, but it was just like, it was like on my, all it was on my radar for a while. And so it was hard. Did I say the name of the song yet? Burn Down the Mission, which a lot, again, it's one of those that people who like Elton John that know beyond the hits, like, and it's gotten a lot of play. I'm sure he does it live just about every show. Um, yeah, so then the record is off of Tumbleweed Connection. I could have picked any song off there. It was really hard because I wanted to put a couple others on. I mentioned them when we were making the playlist, but yeah, so there you go.
So this album again is one of my favorites. You know, top to bottom. When I same kind of thing. When I got it, I played the crap out of it. You know, what's interesting is in that early '70s time frame, I don't know, several of the artists kind of got this idea that, hey, we're going to go back to the old West and start doing, you know, like it was, you know, Bob Dylan did the John Wesley Harding, and the Eagles, I think, and James Gang. They all had these like outlaw kind of albums out there in the early '70s, but this one stands up against all of those, right? In terms of the theme of it was great, and they had lots of songs that were much like that. Burn Down the Mission is just a classic song, and you know, it's one of those ones where I don't know that I wrote that song down and said, "Hey, let's put this one on." But when Mike put it on, and then when I listened to it again, I went, "Oh my gosh, this is such an awesome song." It really is. And one of the things I like about it is there's a signature thing that he does, and I'll tie it to another song. He does it in a lot of different songs, but it was kind of a signature thing for Elton John. So he gets to a point in the song, right? And then he starts going da 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 da, and he starts playing the piano faster, right? And doing that little thing. He does the same thing in Leave On, if you remember that. When you get to that Leave On part, he starts, you know, doing the same kind of little thing or whatever on the piano. Again, little insight into piano stuff. He does that does that on a number of songs where he wants to change the tempo and he wants to get to something else, and that's his little way of doing it. I'm going to do 30-second notes and just, you know, pound that out and play it that way. And again, that's a signature thing. And again, I'm glad you put it on. I love that song.
Yeah, two things. Once you put it on, I was thinking not going to get a song off either of those albums. I guess I could have picked one, but I think those at the top. I was like, oh my god, they picked the two songs, and yeah, I'm a little stunned that Dave might not have had on my. It was second on my list after Madman. You know, so well, I think Madman was, but I didn't think anyone was going to choose it because that's my first choice. And then the next two were so we're there, and that was part of the dual cassette thing. Like Mike said, once you play, you just flip it over, you get to listen to a whole new album because they're so short. Those albums are so short back then, you know, 40 something minutes. And, you know, those two are, you know, could have come out as, you know, a double album in my opinion. So yeah, just, you know, just a great period in his time, and it's a great insight into not the hits, so to speak, and that's what I like about it. But so having saying that and contradicting myself, I went straight to the hit with "Goodbye Yellow Brick Road," which is probably, I don't know if it's his at least top three albums of all time. You could argue that it is. It's no album. It's a great album. A lot of great songs on there. I don't, in my opinion, it's not as good as Madman, but some people would obviously disagree with that. And so I would Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, which is pretty kind of self-explanatory. It's also good that it's a song, you know, about you know, kind of going back to your roots. You know, I've trying to, you know, you endure the fame, but you know, you want to go back to your roots because sometimes fame can be a little overwhelming, and I'm sure Elton John has plenty of songs about that on multiple occasions. So, but yeah, and it's one of my favorite albums. I think I owned, I think Dave owned, but I think I went out and bought my own copy. That's how much I like that album. So, yeah.
Yeah, it was another one that we had in the house, and I remember there was the coolest babysitter I ever had. She liked rock and roll and turned me on to a lot of it, and she just was like fanatical about Elton John. So she played that record every time she came over, so I got to know a lot of the songs, and that's kind of really when his music started growing on me. But there are so many songs. I had a couple that I really wanted to put on, but this would be the first of those. So the benefit of us all having mutual choices is it opens up for the other two. Okay, well, he got that song, so that's good. Now I can pick something else. But it's a great song. Okay, so I'll keep this real brief. I've seen him 3 times in concert. First time was in the mid 80s when he kind of had his resurgence there. And then second time was just him. It was an outdoor concert in Dallas, just him and a percussionist named Ray Cooper. And if you've ever seen Ray Cooper, he kind of looks like the little ball guy from Benny Hill, but he's like a maniac, this guy on percussion. He'll be playing bongos, he'll be the whole time, and he between him and Elton and their instruments. It was a full on sound. And then the last time was, I guess, his farewell tour. You never really know with these guys, but it was called Farewell Yellow Brick Road. And he probably played almost all of these songs. And I went with my daughter to see it. It was just such a great show at the very end. So the background of the stage is that album cover, and like at the end of the song, he like walks up these stairs and is like, there's the yellow brick road, and he like steps and he like waves and step through the background up the yellow brick road, which is kind of hokey, but it was kind of an interesting thing. But it was a great show. I he's still apparently playing shows, just not touring. So if you get a chance, go check him out.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite songs of Elton John for sure. You talk about going back. Well, back to the howling old owl in the woods, hunting the horny back toad. I mean, what does that even mean? We don't even know, but it doesn't matter. It's like Taupin could just put whatever lyrics he wanted in front of Elton, and Elton would write a great song about it. And I think that's what makes it so good. It doesn't have to mean anything sometimes. It's just got whatever cool imagery or whatever. But yeah, this is a great tune. Glad you put it on. I was kind of hoping that you all were going to put on some of the hits. Not that was what all you were going to do, but you did, because there were again a couple of songs that I wanted to put on that were probably B-sides, or they were probably not as well known, but they were just personal favorite songs of mine. And I knew if I did that, then it was going to probably detract or take away from some of the hit songs. And Skyline Pigeon, okay, that was one of them. But then my next song that I put on kind of slowed it down a little bit and put on a song called One More Arrow from Too Low for Zero. And it's just one of my favorite songs because of the ballad that it is, and the lyrics. I don't know who he's writing about, but he writes about how this person, is such a strong influence, and he's that we argued once. He knocked me down, and he cried when it thought it hurt me, and he was quiet about his pain. He must have been going through something and maybe died early or something like that. It doesn't really even exactly say in the lyrics, but he says, but if 1 in 10 could be that great, I would never hate again. And I've always loved that lyric to the point where this person had such an influence. And again, I don't know the backstory behind it, but he writes as though, this person could have done a lot of things, but they were so special and great. And anyway, I had to put this on. Again, it's not probably one of his most popular ones. I think I put it on a playlist back in the day or whatever, but always listened to it over the years, always loved singing it over the years. And so it's just one of my favorites.
Yeah, I don't. If you did, I don't. When did it come out? Because I don't. This is a song that's kind of newer to me, and I don't really remember hearing it. If I did, I don't remember that.
Early 80s, 82, 83, somewhere in there.
Yeah, early 80s.
So it must have made it, obviously, if it was there, it obviously made one of the playlists. I have to go back and look at some of them. A lot of lost tapes back there. But yeah, it's a fantastic, and true to our form, true to our karma or whatever, or the next three songs kind of have that same kind of feeling in a way. So and this is a great song. Again, I hadn't heard it, but very powerful song. I really enjoy. I think it might have been one of my favorites. Especially since I hadn't probably heard it as much as the other songs. And like you said, believing in someone, believing in something. So yeah, it's a fantastic song.
I knew this song because I had this record, Too Low for Zero. It had another couple of songs that made the radio. This one I didn't really. It's one of those songs that I'd focus on the ones I really liked and never really listened to it, which is a shame. I was missing something there. It is a beautiful, poignant song. I did a little for like the songs that I didn't know as well on here. I did a little looking into things, and it's all kind of speculation, but it does sound like it is about somebody who died young. And the arrow thing, somebody was suggesting that, I don't know if you're familiar with the Robin Hood story, but when Robin Hood dies, he tells Little John to shoot an arrow into the woods, and wherever it lands, bury him, and like under a tree. And he talks about sing about under a tree. And yeah, who knows what it's about? During it came out in the mid '80s, and some of the speculation I saw was it was kind of a indirect reference to those lost during the AIDS crisis. Who knows? I mean, he has referenced that in songs. It could have just been a friend. It could have been, yeah, something Bernie Taupin made up. Who knows? But it's a beautiful song, very poignant. And you're right. The next few definitely kind of go down that road, and that was intentional on my part. The next song, which was Empty Garden, parentheses, Hey Hey Johnny. All right, so this one, even listening to it, I hadn't listened to it in a long time, but putting it on, it kind of took me back to that place when he put this song out, and I got misty eyed because it's about John Lennon and his death, his murder, and being gone, the emptiness, he left behind. And it's the imagery is like he goes to this garden, and it clearly was tended by someone who loved and cared a lot, but now it's all overgrown. And it's clearly been left behind. And the Hey Hey Johnny part is like I've been yelling out outside. I've been yelling all day. Um, won't you come out and play? Hey, hey, Johnny. I'm not getting that exactly right, but that gets me every time. So he was real good friends with John Lennon. They even did a song together. Actually, I think they maybe were on a couple of songs together one way or another, but Elton had a role in helping John and Yoko reunite. And yeah, not much more I can say. I still love that song.
I don't think you could have picked a more perfect song to follow One More Arrow, and it is absolutely one of my. I keep saying this. How many favorite songs can I have, really? But you nailed it. You picked it. I was hoping somebody would put it on because I only have 5 selections, and I can't put them all on. But this is another one that it's a go-to jam when I sit down at the piano because the chords are so easy. It's just really simple, and I love again the message of it, and to just hey hey Johnny, can't you come out to play? In your empty garden, and it's amazing when you write songs like this or like Candle in the Wind or other things like that when people passed. And I think this is a very underappreciated, and maybe doesn't get the run or the publicity that a lot of other Elton John songs have gotten over the years, but it's definitely up there for me.
Yeah, for some reason, I know that when it came out, there was kind of a bunch of hype about it, so to speak, because they were friends, and he was kind of making this tribute. Aside from that, it doesn't distract from how great the song really is and how he really misses them. And I'm kind of like my interpretation was more like hey, this place is empty. We need Paul Simon sings about Joe, where have you gone, Joe DiMaggio? We need someone like John Lennon here. We need you. But the garden is empty. But we need you to fill that with whatever you do. You fill it with peace, love, whatever. So, but yeah, and I kind of remember that this was kind of like everyone was. It was kind of a big deal at the time. So, and
Can,
go ahead.
before you go ahead, I forgot to say something, but about this song. First of all, I completely agree with you. It is wider than that. But it occurred to me when we were listening to this song, or when we put it on here, or I put it on here, that okay, this is obviously something very personal for him. And we always talk about Bernie Taupin writing the lyrics and he doing the music. Do you guys know how much interplay, how much he contributed to the lyrics or contributes?
Well, yeah, I think after a while that he was writing with different people, right? After they've had their split, right? Before, was it during the 80s?
Yeah, no, but I mean, yes, that's true. And he has, I mean, Elton John, did he ever write any of the lyrics? Or
Oh,
like this song, you would think, when you hear these, you almost think that's an Elton John lyric, but
yeah.
he didn't necessarily write that. So anyway, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just,
No,
Yeah, you wonder if he edited it, like ever,
yeah,
like, oh, let's use this word because it doesn't quite fit with the cadence of, I got to shorten that because my piano thing is not gonna take that 3-syllable word or whatever, right?
right. Yeah, I'm sure he did had input into it as much as anything. Like someone throws an idea down, and then the two sit down and collaborate, just like the thousands of stories you've heard about, like Lennon and McCartney, like, oh, you should do this. Oh, wait, you should do, throw in this, or you should do that. I'm sure, although, obviously, because he gets, the writing credit as well, top of that they did it together. You got to do it together, right? I mean, it just doesn't work. And you've got to kind of believe in the lyrics, so to speak. So, I don't know. But yeah, again, going back, I wish I could have said that I was on the same page with "Don't Let the Sun Go Down," which was my pick, and it kind of goes with the other two songs. But I was just scrambling because "Empty Gardens" was going to be my next pick after that, and I was like, "Oh crap, Mike's got my song." So, and kudos to you. And so I did go with "Don't Let the Sun." It was a big part about our lives back in the day, back when it came out again. This was, I think a lot of these songs were in our, more of our wheelhouse. You might have thought more early 70s, but I think we were more late 70s, early 80s. I think people might be a little surprised about that.
yeah, so I think I don't know if this would be the biggest hit on here, but maybe, on a list where we have some lesser known songs, but it's definitely a very well known and loved song, and it was to the point where he re-recorded it with George Michael and had a whole other hit. He's done that with a couple of songs, but a whole other time around, and there's a reason for it. It's a great song. Um, I don't know anything else I can say about it. You need to listen to it. It's a great song.
Yeah, it is. And one of the things that I like and talk about signature hooks or different things. He doesn't do it on all songs or whatever, but on this one, it's one of those ones where when you hear the first note, the first couple notes where it's, da 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 da, that intro. And he doesn't do intros on every single song. He does on Leave On. He does that little intro on Leave On. He does it on sorry seems to be the hardest word. He's done it on a lot of these songs where he starts out with that intro, and when you hear that first couple of chords or the intro to it, you immediately know that song. That's "Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me." And again, it's a masterpiece. It's one of his greatest songs, I think. It's a little long. It's a longer piece, which is kind of cool. And yeah, I'm glad you picked it. The George Michael thing kind of made it a resurgence and real popular, and almost to the point where now when I hear the song, I almost hear the, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Elton John, because he introduces him, and that's a great live thing too, if you get a chance to listen to that one. But I like the original too, so it was a great selection. My next song again was another one of those songs that maybe wasn't one of his top 10, 15 kind of songs. It was off one of his lesser known albums, but it's a song called Sartorial Eloquence. And I've just always liked the chord progressions of it. I like the melody, and I like the lyrics of Kalpin talking about how, you know, you got a knack for being so laid back, you know, and you got your style all of your own, and your clothes and your hair and all that kind of stuff. And then he uses the term sartorial eloquence, which is, you don't hear that very often. You have to almost break down, what does that mean, you know? And I think that's way cool about it. The other thing I'll say just real quick, and again, just it's probably more for music aficionados, and you won't maybe won't get this, but Sartorial Eloquent, he has like 10 songs, maybe more. I don't know, because when you write 500 songs, there's no way you can write them without using the similar chord progressions and patterns and keys that you write songs with. It just happens that way. So this song, it's in like a E flat, you know, B flat, E flat, A flat, you know, those chords, and he uses that a lot. And so when I got to this point, there were literally 3 or 4 songs that I was going, which one do I choose? Because they're all the same they're all the same song, essentially. So if you ever get a chance, again, you probably won't, but there's a song called The Fox that is the same kind of thing. If you listen to them together, you go, that's the same song, you know. Another one is Burning Buildings is another one that uses the same chords in there. Another one is called The Saint. All of those songs use the same chord patterns in them. And so I was like, okay, which way cool song like this do I want to put on? And I ended up with Sartorial. I know it's a long way around getting to that song, but
Yeah, I was wondering why you picked this song. Not that it's a bad song, but even the lyrics are kind of yeah, I don't know exactly what it's about. Is it kind of the ending of a relationship, or trying to mend a relationship, or something like what's your
I don't know.
interpretation?
Don't you want to play this game no more? You
Yeah,
know,
don't you want to play this
want
game?
to play no
Which is pretty powerful when, you know, first you get used to the song, and then you get used to the lyrics, and you're like, man, this is pretty hardcore. See, you know, why did they pick this? What I kept asking was like, this some sort of message or something like this. But no, and it's a fantastic song. I'm glad. Again, I'm glad when we always get songs out. It's funny because Dave is usually the one that we say, oh, he's the one who puts on all the hits, and instead he was the one that didn't put on all the hits. He was the one that he went a lot of deep cuts. So love the choice.
Yeah, I didn't know this song either. I don't, what record, do you remember what record it's on? It's not one I had.
What's the one? What's the one that has Little Genie on it? 21 to 33, maybe. I think it's on that one.
Okay. Yeah, that's one I didn't have for sure. But yeah, I took it as somebody who the singer, the character in the song, is being left behind by somebody who's almost almost like somebody's going on to, you know, fame or bigger and better things, and it's like just kind of leaving this person in his wake or her wake or whatever. So it seemed, you know, I didn't notice this first couple listens, but it does seem kind of angry. Not very happy at the person. Which, you know, maybe that's pretty obvious.
Just sitting pretty in your masquerade, you know, and then
Well,
don't you?
that's what I thought. It was maybe someone who ripped him off financially or something like that. Maybe he's getting, you know, those guys love to write about that kind of stuff.
Well, so yeah, I went on to do the one, which is I think the album's called The One. I'm not sure, but I didn't have the record, but I do remember it from the radio, and or maybe it was MTV, but I remember not really paying attention to it. I was just on to other things at that point. If I was listening to Elton John, it was much older stuff, and So when I was kind of going through to make this list, I wanted to do more than just, like I said, the old stuff, the older stuff. And so this is, by now this has been around a long time, but it was in the 90s, early 90s, late 80s, somewhere in there, maybe even more recent than that. And so I kind of was like, I recognize, I recognize now, I'm like, how did I not like this song? This is such a great song. It's kind of, I guess, kind of like my interpretation. He's found that person. There might be more to it. I'm not really going into. Sometimes it can be completely something different and sound like that. But the arrangement, the chord changes, he throws in enough of those kind of interesting chords. Where you're expecting it to go somewhere else, and he's all of a sudden like, oh, what's this? This is nice. So it actually, I like it enough that it's every once in a while I make my own playlist, and this one's gonna have to be on there because yeah, I really like it.
Yeah, this is one of those songs. I didn't own the album, but I had it in my songs and stuff, and really there was probably 3 or 4 albums there where he did from the '90s into where I just had certain songs off those albums, and it's amazing how prolific and how good he was. Even he continues to be, and this is a great example of that. And when you put this on, it just might be my favorite song on the playlist, just because it's one of those ones where, yeah, I've listened to it, but not listened to it to death. And it's such a well-crafted song. That it's in my head. It's been in my head since I've been listening to the playlist. Seems like for the last several days, every day I've got this song in my head. I can't get it out, and that's because it's such a great song. But there's other ones off of this album, and then I think it's called Rock of the Westies, and there's Peachtree Road, and there's Captain and the Kid. There's these albums that I just never got into yet, but I know songs off those albums, and I kept wanting to pick a song off one of these later, I say, albums or whatever, and I just didn't. So I encourage the listeners, go listen to some of these other ones, because I almost put on This Train Don't Stop Here Anymore, or Tinderbox, or some of these other songs that I've heard off these newer albums, and I just didn't pull the trigger and put it on the playlist. But thanks, Mike, for putting at least something newer onto the playlist. 2 songs, even the Brandy Carlisle, and then this one. So good selection.
Yeah, I thought this is when you get old. Is I thought you owned this album, Dave, for whatever you. But then I'm thinking maybe you didn't, because it was nice. But so then I thought I know another friend who did own the album, and they played it quite a bit. That's why I do usually equate you with Elton John. So, and I kind of know this album, and this song was on my list as well. It was one of my top 15 at least, and I heard this quite a bit. And it's like I said, I'm glad that we put some newer stuff on. We call it new. I mean, this is the one probably came out 20, 30 years ago, but still a great song and a great selection. I'm glad someone picked the song, because I didn't pick it, but it's funny when we start getting down to the nitty gritty, you don't like to leave songs off that you think are important. And I think this one was. It was, again, probably one of his second or third resurgences that he had back then. So it's a great song, and going kind of hand, even though, again, thematically, the one, and then Sacrifice. I only picked Sacrifice, full disclosure, is because I didn't know this was such a big hit. For some reason, it's one of his biggest hits. I don't listen to it, but I thought, why don't I listen to it? And so I thought, I should put it on here so I can listen to it myself. So I was being a little selfish there, and finding out what this song is all about, why people gravitated to it, and I now you know why. I mean, it's a great song. Again, being guilty of, like, I stop at a certain point, in their growth, can sometimes be a mistake. So, yeah, and I thought, what better way to put it on and then get to listen to it on a, whenever I want to. So,
Yeah, I didn't know the song either. It surprises me when you say it was a hit. I'm like, really? I mean, it's like I don't know why. At some point I quit listening to the radio much, and then even then, like there was a period I went through a bad Neil Young phase where that's like all I listened to for a long time. I don't know why. I guess I was just tired of contemporary music. But so this kind of resurgence by him, I missed it, and it's a good song, and I appreciate you putting it on. Or I probably may have never listened because, like you said, he has a lot of records, and that's a lot of time trying to figure out which songs you don't know that you like. Something might get missed. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, this was towards the end of my album collecting. It was either, I think, Sleeping in the Past. I don't know if that was like late 80s, 89, I think, or something like that. And then I also had that Leather Jackets one, which I don't know which one came before the other, but those were the last two albums that I can remember having of Elton John. And so yeah, I knew the song, played it a lot, loved it. Glad you didn't put on what is the new version with Dua Lipa or whatever, the Cold Cold Heart remix, mashup, or whatever they call those things. Now they take two songs in Rocket Man, Cold Cold Heart, and they put it together into one song. Do you like those things? I don't. Not really.
Yeah, some can be good, some can be bad, some can be really bad. I I will say some are decent, you know.
Speaking of not just the mashups and those things, but all the duets and stuff he did. I started looking back, even back into the '90s and other places when he started doing a lot of duets with people like Leon Russell and Bonnie Raitt and some of these other ones. Did you know that he did a song with Leonard Cohen?
Wow. Well,
Born to
Yeah.
Lose. Born to Lose. Go look it up. It's actually a pretty cool version with the low voice of Leonard Cohen, right?
Is it the Born to Lose that say Ray Charles did back in the day?
I
Is it a
don't
cover or is it a
I don't
new?
know the origin of it. I just remember coming across it when I was researching, doing maybe some Elton John, but I know how we had talked about how we all liked and we've all put on Leonard Cohen, and that's I thought I'd throw that out that he did a duet with him. We'll have to go check it out.
Wow,
Um,
the first thing I'm going to do when we end this video.
I know, right? Um, So then I had one last selection to make, and at this point I decided, you know what, I've done enough of those B-sides and stuff. Let me go back to one of the most classic, iconic ones. And I already mentioned how when you hear the notes of the first notes of a song, you know what the song is. Benny and the Jets is that song. You hear that dun 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 dun. I mean, I know I'm not great at it, but that's you know it. You hear it, you know it. You know what that is. And so I thought, he's so good live. I don't think I own this album live at Madison Square Garden. I did have the Australia one, but I thought, hey, this was a cool version of it. Let me put this one on from I think a One Night Only or something it was called. He actually filmed it over 2 nights, and he actually used most of the songs from the second night. They said there was a problem with the recording the first night, but it was off that live album. And so yeah, I thought I'd got to put on Benny and the Jets because that's a jam. And once he gets into that, he starts tinkling the ivories like he does, and getting the audience in it, doing the Benny, Benny, doing the whole thing with that, and I just love that.
Yeah, that's one of the first songs you hear when you're a kid. Well, when we were kids back in the day, Benny and the Jets, AM radio, and you'd always get into it because they used to play the live version live and long, and like you said, and you get to yell out Benny and the Jets and Benny. So and
I
that
need,
was
I need to ask you though, when you were a little kid, and both you and Mike, be honest when you heard this. When you first heard that song, did you think he said, "I got electric boobs"?
right when you're a little
We all
kid,
thought that, right? No,
right,
it's boots, but we all thought,
right. You giggle, you think, oh, it's boo, yeah.
I thought the line that followed was her ma has, or his ma has two, or something like. But it's I think a mohair suit or something like that.
Oh, hair suit, right? Yeah, you're right, and we all do that when you listen to that song, and so, and it's kind of your introduction into it's your first introduction into kind of Elton John back when we were growing up. Because you're just that age where it's just a fun enough song. It doesn't mean anything. There's no meaning. It's just a fun song with some great piano work, and you're like, man, this is a great song. So, yeah, I love it. I think it's great.
Yeah, I'm gonna echo you again, Jose, about the hearing it on the radio, and it was just like you knew that song. As a kid, it really appealed to me. And I also, did you guys think it was actually live when you heard it back then?
Right.
Because it's not. It's he kind of faked it or whatever. But it's nice to actually hear it live and hear the audience respond to it. Oh, what was I going to say about? Oh, I like that. So the piano, we were talking about that. There's this part in the middle. I guess it's like a bridge, or I don't know what you call it, a solo, or whatever. But it's between uh, leading up to kind of the last part, and it kind of goes in this kind of smooth kind of, I don't know what you call it, and then a little bit of almost like a old barroom piano thing. I always thought that was so cool, that little piano bit. But yeah, another one off of the original is off of Yellow Brick Road, and we could have picked many others if you guys had heeded my suggestion and we did 30. We'd have covered a bunch of that record, I bet. But you gotta know when to stop. And so I went from there. I went back to the mid '80s, where that second or third resurgence. He had You had one off this a few minutes ago, a few songs ago, Jose. This is "I'm Still Standing." It's off of "Too Low for Zero." And so we get into this thing um, when we're making these. I can't speak for you guys, but I know it's like that last song, particularly when you have a lot of songs. It's like you really want to make it count. It's like, what am I gonna put here? And I went back and forth. I was gonna put, oh, hang on. Oh, "We're Two Now, St. Peter." It's like it's a song that I love by him, and it kept getting bumped on my list, and finally I'm like, I mean, it's a great song. Check it out if you don't know it. But it just didn't. It would not have fit here. And so "I'm Still Standing." I'm like, well, you know what? We're kind of in this upbeat stuff, and this one got a lot of airplay, and it got a lot of video play because it was kind of really in when MTV was hitting its stride. There's a video that he put out. He's wearing a straw hat and it's out at the beach, and so I always like. Okay, the video's cheesy. I still like the song. I like the sentiment. I don't know. It's like a product of the times, and I kind of remember where I was and what I was doing in that period of my life. And the only other thing, my son occasionally will um, pick up on something that I like. Um, but he did this on his own, and I heard him one day singing "I'm Still Standing." Wait, where did that come from? Where in your, are you hearing on the radio? It's like apparently it was somehow it was tied. He was tying it into his whole sports thing. It's like you think we're down, but we're gonna come back or whatever. So I could go on and on about that. Well, there were other couple. I want to put one more like mid period, like Blue Eyes, which I really liked, but it wouldn't really fit there either. And I guess that's why they call it the blues. All those came out about same time. I think all of them had videos too, but went with this one.
Well, I like the fact that we kind of ended with like upbeat, all three upbeat kind of songs, right? Even though they might start, with "Leave On" starts a little slow, but that picks up. And so I think they all three went really good to end it. We'd had enough slower, sappy songs or whatever earlier in the playlist. So I like the fact that we went Benny and Jed, and "I'm Still Standing" was a great resurgence with Elton John. One, like we said, one of many that he did, and I remember the video and everything. And then I think it even made it into some movies, right? Like Sing maybe, or one of these animated movies or whatever. And it got another popular resurgence again after that. But I like it. It's a fun, upbeat song, and so I'm glad you put it on.
I like the song, but do remember when it did come out, there was kind of some sort of backlash, like, what is Elton John? He's all, I'm still, and being 18, because it came out in what, 82, 83, 84, somewhere. You're 19, 20-year-old guy, you're just like, oh, great, Elton John, what's he singing about? I'm still standing. This isn't really what I'm into. With your biases, aside, it's a great song because it was a cheesy video. It was like him in his little top hat, his little cane, and his little doing his dance, and you're like, okay,
Girls
no,
in bikinis, I think.
who?
Oh, and they had that thing. It was like two things that people do in videos that's supposed to make you laugh. One is they like run the video's going forward, then it goes back and then goes forward. It's like that's supposed to crack people up. I never understood that. And the other is to suddenly speed things up. Like, and they do that in a couple of places in that video. It's like, ugh.
Yeah, it's quintessential '80s, and I kind of remember like, I don't know if I'm really in, but again, that one song goes on. Does not obviously, and aside again from the video, if you listen to it without it and listen to the song itself, it's a great song, and it is. Believe me, being around athletics a lot, you hear that song quite a bit. Throughout the years. So I thought I think it's a great song. I just kind of remember that backlash of like, oh, Elton John, he's having his fun. I thought to end it, it was kind of tough. Did I want to go something new? Do I want to go something old? So I just went with the song that I think is classic Elton John with Leave On. Again, I am a little biased because Madman is my favorite album, but that song I think almost it was between that and Tiny Dancer, but Tiny Dancer it's abused. Once it came out and Almost Famous, it kind of got abused. But uh, I think Leave On, and that's been in movies as well. But I still think that's a more powerful song than Tiny Dancer, as great as Tiny Dancer is. So I just thought Leave On was a more powerful song. Like I said, I kind of wanted to end it on a high note. Because we did have some of those songs, where he does talk a lot about relationships and his championing of AIDS and things of that nature. So just thought I'd end it with Leave On. People all know that song.
Yeah, Tiny Dancer. I agree completely. Although it's a great song, it is kind of a shame. It's kind of like, that's been several years since that movie came out, but it is really played a lot, and that's probably also for me why it didn't make it on this list. Though it's a very good song. I think that Leave On. Well, I'm not really sure what it's about. There's a lot of interesting imagery. A guy and his dad, but then there's part of it that I'm not sure if he's singing about his dad or him or. But it's really beautiful song and very thought provoking again about what it's about. And there's like a number of these songs. At one point, I would say that's my favorite Elton John song of all time. And this one was definitely on my list. I played the heck out of this. And it's it's a great place to end it. I think we kind of go back to the real classic, period. And I think that was a great choice.
Yeah, I can't say enough about this song too. I got so excited that again, Mike put on certain songs, Jose, you put on certain songs, and I'm like, you guys were just nailing the ones where I'm going, oh, I hope they put this one on, or I hope they put this one on. And then to end the playlist, I'm like, you couldn't have put a better song on to end the playlist with Leave On. And I guess Leave On is Alvin Tostig's son. I don't know who Alvin Tostig is, but Taupin wrote about it, and um, but it's a jam. It gets into a jam later in the song, and yeah, I've just always liked this song. Uh, Again, the flow of the playlist couldn't have ended it better. I will just wrap up by saying, there's we always say this, but we could have done Elton 2, Elton 3, Elton 4, and not ran out of great songs to put on these things. We know that there were certain songs that we just absolutely couldn't get to. Your Song is one of his greatest. Daniel is another. Crocodile Rock, those kind of songs that just yeah, we couldn't get them all in, but I think we did a good job of getting the ones on that we liked, and ones that did have some popularity to them as well. What are some of the songs you guys? I think you mentioned some of them already that maybe you missed or you wish you would have put on, but any others?
Yeah, well, there was, Captain Fantastic. Interestingly enough, and I don't know why I just brought this up, that Elton John was really introduced to me as the first person with Pinball Wizard, when he do Pinball Wizard, because that was kind of when the movie came out. You started to grow up at 10 or 11. So I always remember him with those large boots and singing Pinball Wizard, even though that's not his song. But he does do a great version of it, Philadelphia Freedom, things like that. Uh, uh, I guess that's why they call it the blues. I think that's a great song. I was surprised. I was surprised I didn't pick it. Surprised that we didn't pick it. But yeah, just a lot of great songs that we could have picked. I think it was a little narrower picking. Like I think, and I mentioned this earlier, that we had a lot of overlap of songs that we all liked together.
Yeah, I agree, and we've used some of his songs that probably would have made it on this list. Some of our previous ones, like Rocket Man, and I'm gonna blank out, but I know there was another one or two. As far as songs, I think most of the ones that I had on my list were that remaining were more obscure. Take Me to the Pilot, I guess that they got some airplay, or at least live videos of live shows. Tumbleweed Connection, which I mentioned, Come Down in Time, which is really kind of an obscure song. I've always loved that song. There's a harp, and there's a extended kind of bass part, like a string bass. What else? I have Rotten Peaches off Madman Across the Water. I mentioned Where St. Peter, and then just about everything on Yellow Brick Road. I'm just looking at the ones I picked as possible contenders. I made a little playlist. Harmony. It's if you don't know Elton John and you don't have that record, you probably never heard that song. But it's such an amazing, beautiful song. I think it's the last song on the record. But there's many other songs on it that could have gone on here as well. So
Yeah,
no regrets.
there was even a couple that were some of the newer stuff that I had heard, and I just like I mentioned some, but Home Again and The Bridge were some recent songs that he had that were just amazing. Um, so yeah, it was fun. It was fun to do it for sure. We may have to revisit and do another one. We always say that, but um, any last thoughts?
No, I think that's why everyone could blame me for not the extra songs because I was the one who kind of nixed it. But I think sometimes we need to save some for things. And all I'll ever say is, and this is a whole story, and I'm not going to get into it, but I have seen a certain someone around here sing Elton John on stage before. So that's just me. I'm just throwing that out there. No more story about it, but I have seen a certain someone sing Elton John on stage. So just throw that out there. I've never seen Elton John, but I've seen this person do
Now, I will say again, I didn't want to self gloss or anything like that, but my senior year in high school pops concert, I sang Your Song,
You did.
and my girlfriend at the time, they pushed her on stage
They
and
did.
sing it to her, which was very uncomfortable for me because I didn't know what to do. Do I look at her? Do I look at the audience? I don't know.
It was a great move in
Difficult
Dave's
thing for me,
history.
but I got through it. I think I did
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, it was a great moment in Dave Duke history, trust me. That's all.
Were you wearing any
He was
you
wearing
know,
a tuxedo.
That's
feathers or big glasses or
Tux with bow tie.
Oh, there you
tuxedo.
go.
And I had the Napoleon Dynamite afro
Yeah,
too.
I didn't run
With
it.
with glasses, regular glasses, 'cause I didn't have, I had glasses back in the day, so I pretty much
You
looked like
did.
Napoleon Dynamite. I'll have to find a picture and I'll show it to you, Mike, and you'll crack up.
Oh my God. Yeah, great moments in Elton John history. See, not only did Dave teach me Elton John, he's like, I'm gonna practice what I preach. I'm gonna get out there and sing it. There you go. See?
There you go.
Man, my hat, if I was wearing a hat, off to you, especially with pushing the girlfriend out on the stage. I would have lost wherever, if I could play piano, I would have trouble focusing and getting through it. I mean, just it would be too much.
I wasn't playing piano or anything. I was just
No, you were singing.
actually George Davis was playing the piano
He was. That's right. He did.
because he played that, and I also sang Daniel at one point, and he played piano for me on that too. And by the way, he did sing. He sang "Empty Garden" too at one
Yeah.
point. So
Yeah.
anyway, hey George.
There you go. And you get any chance. Oh, great moments.
All right. Well, I hope everyone enjoyed it. Like I said, the big thing is go check out the playlist, listen to the music. It's not about us, spouting off about the music. It's more about the music. So go listen and hope you enjoy it. And we'll catch you on the next playlist.